Welcome to Caleb Watches Movies, the channel where I, Caleb, randomly select from one of the many movies that I own and I watch and review them for you, unlike days like today where I take a certain list of movies and I rank the crap out of them. And this movie ranking is a ranking that I've been doing going back to 2017 when I started this channel. I love superheroes, I love superhero movies, they're my favorite genre, so in the last 5-6 years, the superhero genre has just taken off, and we have multiple entries that come out every single year, and that's not lessening up anytime soon, so here we are in my ranking of all of the superhero movies / Disney Plus TV shows that were released this year. Now, the criteria I have for my list is this is any movie that is released based on either superhero properties, comic book properties, or is about the superhero genre, or if it's an HBO Max or Disney Plus show that is based on a cinematic universe that established itself in the movies. So shows like The Boys and Invincible are not going to be on this list because they're solely on TV. I know what you're saying, this is an inappropriate list. If I don't include The Boys on it, I don't care. This is my list and this is my criteria. You can deal with that. So enough of me talking. This is my ranking of all of the superhero properties that were released either on Disney Plus, HBO Max, or in the movies in 2022. First up on this list is a movie that I will never be going back to watch because it's so frickin' stupid, starring Sylvester Stallone, a movie called Samaritan. In this city controlled by crime and really shitty biker gangs, Samaritan was the hero, but after his defeat with whatever his name was, Pyro or Nitro or whatever, Nemesis, that was his name, haha, Caleb, a professional movie reviewer here. But after his last battle with Nemesis, we lost Samaritan, we don't know where he went. But this little kid thinks he knows, and he thinks it's Sylvester Stallone, who's a garbage man. Little spoiler for you, of course it's him, right? The movie is really stupid. It's full of stupid characters, which doesn't improve it at all, and it makes me not care about any of these people. The villain is not villainous at all, is actually a pretty weak villain, and the arc, if there is one, for Sylvester Stallone's character, it's barely there. The kid is absolutely annoying, and I kind of want him to die in this movie, and when a movie kind of makes me want the child actor to die, it's not good. Don't see this movie at all. It deserves to be on the bottom of this list. Not far ahead of it, but it's a little fun here and there. It's a movie called Secret Headquarters, a movie about a young boy whose father is a secret superhero and has this alien technology ball thing that allows him to have his own bat cave. He's kind of like a mixture between Batman, Green Lantern, and Iron Man, except, yeah, he has alien technology. That's the Green Lantern part. Yeah, this movie is pretty cheesy. If I was a kid, like 6 years old, I would find this entertaining, but the kids, the group of kids who, you know, like one kid likes the other kid, so they invite them over for one of the kids' birthday party, and then they discover the secret headquarters, you know, this super secret headquarters that no one should be able to find, and yet these kids find it very easily, and then the bad guys come in and they also find it. For a movie called Secret Headquarters, it's not very secret. It's found pretty freaking easily. It's cheesy actors, cheesy story. It hit or miss. I'm never watching it again. Speaking of terrible and cheesy, but you kind of want to go back and keep watching this car crash over and over again, and that is the latest from Sony that they're releasing in their makeshift Spider-Verse villain thing that they're doing. It's a movie called Morbius. Jared Leto plays Morbius, who gets bitten by a vampire, and in Batman Begins fashion, has a scene where he's literally lifted up by the bats, just like in Batman Begins and the opening of Batman v Superman. So frickin' cheesy. Matt Smith is here as the evil vampire who goes up against Jared Leto, and it all builds to a mid-credit scene with Michael Keaton coming in and saying, "I don't know how I got here, but I think it's because of Spider-Man, and we should form a team. Morbius, why? Why should you form a team? What? I'm sure this movie went through editorial hell, but I like Sony's method of advertising their Spider-Verse movies, like all the Venom movies, this one, you got Kraven coming out next year, Madam Web. Their goal with their marketing is to lower the bar of expectations as far as possible. Like, no one's expecting anything of this movie. So the fact that you go in and the screen actually pops up and there's a movie on it, it kind of exceeds expectations for me. Morbius is not as bad as everyone is saying. Like, the first half is actually okay, but then the second half, it just ends from out of nowhere, because I think the editors were just like, okay, let's just end this and let's move on. Which is what I'm doing. I am ending this and moving on with my list. Here's our first entry in the MCU that came out this year, and it's a TV show called Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac does a great job of portraying 3 different versions of the same person. Steven, of course, is my favorite. I just love Steven. Whenever Steven's on the screen, it makes me happy. But the thing about the MCU is that they pride themselves on having connective tissue with all of their shows and all of their movies, building towards something. But the fact that Moon Knight has no connective tissue to really anything, it made this seem very weird. Like, I get any property shouldn't need to rely on it being connected, but that's what the MCU has prided themselves and made themselves known about. So the fact that we don't have any connective tissue of this character and of this show to anything else, I just felt like, okay, what was the point here? I do like the visuals, I like how Moon Knight looks, I like a couple of the episodes, but the ending to me made it seem like this whole TV show, all of the episodes, didn't really happen. And I hate that trope, especially in horror films, when all of this stuff is happening, and then you get to the end, and it's like, oh, it was all a dream. It was like, that was such a waste of time. I felt like I wasted my time with this show. Maybe a season 2 will prove me wrong, but as of now, Moon Knight, it's at the lower end of this list. Next up on the list, and I hate that I have to put it this low, but this show has a couple of the worst villains in the MCU, and that is a show called Ms. Marvel. Let me start off by saying that I love Iman Vellani. I think what she does with Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, is fantastic. Her sense of joy and wonder just in the MCU, because that's what she grew up on as a regular actress, as a regular person. She loved this character. She loved watching all these movies. And now here she is actually in the cinematic universe, and I absolutely adore her. She is wonderful. And I love the presentation of this culture and showing diversity in the MCU. It's very important and it's really cool. I just feel that the writers focused a little too much on showing the diversity in the show and didn't focus on the actual show and plot and building to the climax in this series. And the Jinn are the worst villains in the entire MCU. They had Kamala Khan in episode 3. They had her in their house, and she was telling her about their history and what they need her help to do because she has the bangle, and the bangle's the only thing that can help them get back to their alternate dimension. But then they let her go. She's able to walk out and think about helping them, and even as she's thinking about it and she's going to her brother's wedding, she makes the decision like, yeah, I'm probably going to help them. And then the next scene cuts to the lead Jinn lady, and she's like, no, I'm no longer waiting, I'm no longer asking, I'm gonna take her. Why? Why? You just had her, and if you were just a little bit more patient, she would come in and say, yeah, I'm gonna help you. You, in your eager temperament, just ruined that whole thing for you. You dumbass. I wish I could put Ms. Marvel higher, but sadly I just can't. Next up is one of the silliest entries in the entire MCU, and that came out this year with Chris Hemsworth, directed by Taika Waititi, Thor: Love and Thunder. So the style and humor that we got in Thor Ragnarok and how great that movie was, really was amplified in this movie, and I think no one was overseeing Taika Waititi at all. They just let him do whatever he wanted, and no one reined him in and said, hey, okay, let's cut it here, let's tone down all the improvisation, because we actually have a script and a movie to shoot here. Here, it's joke after joke after joke. It gets silly after a while, even though I am chuckling all throughout, because a lot of the jokes, it's my type of humor, so I get it. You have Christian Bale here, who is a brilliant actor, and he's barely in this thing as the villain Gore, the God Butcherer. I know there is a cut out there where we get a lot more of him going around and actually killing more other gods throughout the cinematic universe, but we don't see that, sadly. He's a complete waste, which sucks. I knew that was going to happen. But then I heard that this film was actually told from the perspective of Korg, and Korg is a very silly character, and it all makes sense. The silliness, the jokes and everything makes sense if it's being told by Korg to a bunch of little children. So Thor: Love and Thunder, I think, is really silly. I think it's an enjoyable time. It's definitely not one of the best of the MCU, though. What is a delightful time is this series of little tiny shorts, animated shorts, of a beloved character in Baby Groot called I Am Groot. 5-minute, one-act, short little stories of Baby Groot battling a bunch of little plant people, and then getting a spa day, and then surfboarding on a soap bar down the ship, and eating a bunch of cheese balls. It was absolutely delightful. If you watch it all, it's about 30 minutes of just pure delightfulness on screen, and it's so enjoyable. I loved this series, and I think it's hilarious that I put this higher on my MCU ranking list than like other feature-length films. This is short little series of 5-minute one-act short stories, but it's great. I love it. Next up is a superhero film that I'm sure was the hardest film to make in the history of superhero films, because we had lost in real life the actor Chadwick Boseman, who had established himself as T'Challa the Black Panther, and Ryan Coogler, who directed that movie and created this world, created this relationship with this actor, decided to take on the sequel and to create the sequel and continue the story. And the biggest kudos needs to be given to Ryan Coogler for this movie, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I think he directed his ass off, and you can see so much care and love that he has for T'Challa and for this world that he's established and that he is continuing here in this movie. I do feel, though, that with this movie being a long eulogy and a long funeral, basically, for Chadwick Boseman and this character of T'Challa, that it hinders a lot of the other character arcs in this movie. For example, there is another tragedy that happens in this movie. One of the big characters, actually, they die. I'm not going to spoil it, whoever it is, for those people that haven't seen this movie yet. I don't know how many people out there haven't, but this character dies and is just kind of thrown to the wayside. We're still talking about Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa. When the actor who played this other character that we're saying goodbye to kind of gets thrown to the wayside, it pisses me off because they are fantastic in this movie. They are the best part of this movie, and now the fact that they're just kind of like cast aside, it underserves that character, and it's a shame. Plus, the third act falls apart in establishing this new Black Panther, but it's to, like, a small group of Wakandans fighting all of the Aqua people. Doesn't quite establish this new Black Panther for this entire nation of Wakanda when you get that war cry of Wakanda Forever, and it's to, like, a group of 5 or 6 people. It's a little disappointing. Next up on the list is a movie that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has tried so hard and for so long to get made. I just hope that he is happy. I'm pretty sure he is, because this movie actually did quite well. It reintroduced a legendary hero in Superman to the DC film universe, and that is this movie, Black Adam. This movie is a ton of fun from beginning to end. The story, it's a little simple. The villain, yeah, they actually really suck, but the introduction of the JSA and every single one of these characters, the introduction of Black Adam, it's all great, and I want to keep seeing these characters on screen. Every single one of these characters I freaking love. Dwayne Johnson actually seems like he's trying to not be The Rock on screen, which I don't know if that's a compliment, saying that an actor is actually not being themselves on screen, they're actually being the character. That's what an actor should be doing, but hey, he's doing it here, so kudos. And Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate is by far the best part. Whenever he's on screen, he steals the show. What he's doing with his vocal work and how he just seems distant and he seems tired. And when he gets to the big moment that he has in this movie, it's a beautiful little scene. And then, of course, that final mid-credit scene with Black Adam and Superman coming face to face. It's just great seeing Henry Cavill back. And it's all thanks to Dwayne Johnson and him going above other people's heads to get it done. That's why The Rock's The Rock. He's the people's champ for a reason. This movie is a ton of fun. Next up is the sequel to Doctor Strange from Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Marvel brings in the original godfather and overseer of Marvel characters in the golden age of the comic book superhero blockbuster, Sam Raimi, and this movie, you can tell, is absolutely a Raimi movie. Everything that you love and have come to know about Sam Raimi from his other horror films is in here. The crazy zooms, the camera following a character who's being scratched by a whole bunch of dead, undead zombie people. We have a lot of comedy bits in here. There's a lot of horror aspects. There's a cameo from Bruce Campbell, which is awesome. And the introduction of a bunch of multiverse characters, which makes sense. It's called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I just wish that in this movie we would have gone to more multiverses. I think we only went to like 3 total, which was a little disheartening. I wanted him to go to multiple universes, but maybe in future films, but not for this one. But they do actually use one of the best villains in the entire Marvel world, and that is Scarlet Witch. She is finally a villain here, and she is a force to be reckoned with. She is one of the most powerful beings in the entire MCU. We see her full potential here, and it put a smile on my face. Like, yes, thank you. We are finally using her at her full potential. Thank you very much, Sam Raimi. Next up is another horror picture from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the very first special presentation, which translates for, hey, the Disney higher-ups don't want to fully invest this story into a TV series, and they definitely don't want to invest this into a theatrically released piece, so let's just make it its own, like, 50-minute long special on Disney Plus, and people will go crazy for it. It's Werewolf by Night. And giving Michael Giacchino his first feature-length directorial debut, something that he's always wanted to do his entire life. He's a magnificent composer, but growing up, he always wanted to make movies, in particular, horror films, and this movie is a love letter to all of those Universal horror pictures. It's just a lot of fun, and it's the first time that we're getting very gruesome into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Blood, arms are being dislocated and dismembered from people's bodies. Like, okay, we're getting away with this, probably because it's in black and white, but still. And the introduction of Man-Thing, or should I call him Ted? This whole special is just a ton of fun, and it doesn't feel like anything else that the MCU has done before, and I hope they do more with this character, and do more with, like, these side horror characters, maybe like Ghost Rider and Blade, maybe have them show up with the next Werewolf by Night and Man-Thing. Werewolf by Night, it's just so much fun, and I'm going to be watching it every year for October. Next up is another special presentation that comes all the way from the mind of James Gunn, and it's a holiday special from the Guardians of the Galaxy. The holiday special, that's the title of it. I kind of screwed that up, but I'm not going back. I believe this is based off of the idea that Star Wars had with their holiday special that came out between episode 4 and episode 5. It's one of those weird things that everyone's like, hey, is that canon? No, it's not canon, but is it really canon? I think it is. That's where the idea of doing this holiday special came from, and it's great to see the Guardians back on screen again. It's been so long since that whole debacle with James Gunn and Disney higher-ups from many years ago. Pretty sure Guardians 3 was supposed to be like one of the first entries in Phase 4, but then again that whole thing happened, so it's nice to see, hey, we have the Guardians, and they're here, and remember how awesome they are? Here they are. But it's also nice to see Drax and Mantis have their own kind of like buddy cop story, where they're featured more, and they're not just side characters. Drax is the best character in the whole MCU, I've said that before, and I'll keep saying it until Drax is no more in the MCU. Dave Bautista is great, them going after Kevin Bacon, who is now canon in the MCU. I think this holiday special is wonderful, and it's going to be a part of my Christmas watch list every single year going forward. Next up is a movie that really touched me emotionally because I'm a big pet person. I love dogs, I love cats, I love bunnies, I love all animals. So to see all of these super-powered pets in the DC universe get their own little animated movie, it made me so happy, and I love the message that this movie has. This is DC League of Super Pets. I love seeing Krypto form this great bond with Superman, and just the love that he has for Superman, but then when Lois Lane starts coming in, all of a sudden Krypto's like, no, he's my human. I don't want to share him with anyone else. So to see that rejection, I've seen that happen with other pets before when someone else has come in. So to see this character go through that, it is heartbreaking, and to see all these other pets in the adoption store not being picked, it breaks my heart because I just want to go to every adoption shelter everywhere and just adopt them all and save them all. But this movie is really funny. I love the animation style that they have, especially with all of like the main heroes, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, all of them, but I like this story of belonging and of family, because family is not just friends and people that you're related to by blood, it's also the animals that you have in your home. They are just as much part of the family as anyone else is. Could anyone else have played these characters other than Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart? Yeah, but, you know, they're names, so they attach them, and that's what makes this movie all of its money that it made. But it's one of the most heartfelt superhero films of the year and in the last couple of years, and I really enjoyed it. This was one of my favorite shows. I looked forward to watching every single episode as it came out every single week in August. She is one of my favorite Marvel characters, and to see her accurately represented in the MCU, in this TV show, in this 20 to 30 minute serial sitcom style, this is She-Hulk Attorney at Law. This is one of my favorite shows I've watched. Tatiana Vellani, I think, is a perfect She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, and just how this show was written. I absolutely loved it. It was like it was actually ripped from the pages of She-Hulk's history. I just so enjoyed this show so much. All of the special cameos that we got, from Wong all the way to Netflix's Daredevil, who is in this thing in the mustard and red suit, which is awesome. I love seeing these superheroes have sex, which is something that we haven't seen in the MCU other than a short little, brief little scene in Eternals. It's like, okay, what are these heroes doing in their downtime? You know, they gotta get rid of some of that energy that they've had building up and all that adrenaline. I mean, these characters are screwing, right? So to see a character actually go through that and go through relationships, I think is refreshing. And she's also a character that, yes, she has superpowers, but she doesn't have dreams of being a superhero. She just wants to be a lawyer. She wants to continue her day job of what she got her degree in and what she went to lawyer school to become. She wants to be a lawyer. So she continues to do that, regardless of if she's She-Hulk or not. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, there were many incels online that absolutely hated it because it's a woman and blah, blah, blah. Just ignore all those people. This show is great. It is one of my favorites. It's one of the best times I had watching any superhero property all year. But probably the most fun I had watching a show from week to week about a cinematic universe character comes from the DC side of things. Early on this year, I think people may have forgot about him, but it's John Cena as Peacemaker. I even made Do You Want to Taste It my ringtone. That's how much I love this show. I would actually do the dance for my wife whenever the episode would start. It was just so much fun. This show is so much fun. It's crude, it's rude, it has fantastic humor, my type of humor, but even outside of all of that, there are so many great heartfelt moments from this character of Peacemaker that really no one had any idea who he was, and then played by John Cena, a professional wrestler. What type of emotional range can he have? Turns out he can have quite a big frickin' emotional range. He's playing rock songs on the piano, he's breaking down and bawling into certain situations. I just love this character, and I love how this show is written. Every single episode, it was a must-watch for me, and it was so much fun. And then the Justice League cameo at the end, yes, we had a couple of no-faces in there, but still, establishing Peacemaker in the whole DC film universe, I think was awesome, and it was really cool. Peacemaker is one of the highlights, just outside of just movies and TV shows in general, just one of the highlights of my year alone, getting to do that little dance and everything every single week for my wife and seeing the smile on her face. Like, yeah, I love this show. I'm gonna be watching season 2 when it comes out. James Gunn is now the co-owner and co-editor of DC Films, and if this is the product that we're getting from him and then the Suicide Squad, the DC film universe is in great hands in my opinion. Which brings me to the best superhero property in 2022, coming out around my birthday in March. This is Matt Reeves' The Batman. Matt Reeves is one of the best filmmakers working today, so if you tell me that he's directing a picture, I'm there. I don't care what it is, I'm gonna see it because he is so character-driven and so character-based in all of his stories that you know you're gonna get a fantastic film, regardless of what the actual film is about. But then you add on top of it how much of a fan Matt Reeves is of the Batman and the Batman lore and Batman universe. This movie is just a marvel from beginning to end. Every single little detail and frame and shot in this movie is everything that Matt Reeves wanted, which when we get to, DC Films and Warner Brothers, they're not known for having their directors of DC properties get to do everything that they want. Here, Matt Reeves, right at the beginning, said, I'm doing it my way. This is what I want to do. If you want me, hire me. If not, I don't want this project. So big kudos to Matt Reeves for standing up for what he believes in and his style and the story that he wanted to tell. I think this story is freaking great. And Robert Pattinson, I think, is a fantastic Batman. I want to see him continue on in this role and to grow in this role, to see where this character takes him. I love at the end of this movie that Batman is not, you know, in the shadows and talking about vengeance and being the hero that Gotham deserves and needs, but in the shadows. No, he's talking about how this city needs hope, and they need a symbol of hope to get them back on their feet because the city is literally underwater. So this bat symbol that I created for fear and vengeance, maybe I can switch this to a symbol of hope. And that brings tears to my eyes, that this tragedy that this character has and this anger that this character has can be used as a source of good to inspire other people. That is a beautiful sentiment for this character, and Matt Reeves needs to keep on making Batman films and properties until he can do it no more, because this movie is by far the best comic book superhero property of 2022. And that is my list. What did you think about it? Do you agree or disagree? What is your ranking of all the superhero films and TV shows of this year? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I'm released mixed movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel with my ranking of the best and worst films of 2022 later on this week. But in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.